Have you ever noticed how some people seem like open books, while others are complete mysteries? They smile, they nod, they say they're fine, but something feels off. And here's the scary part. The people who hide their emotions the best are often the ones who break down the hardest, suddenly, unexpectedly, and sometimes at the worst possible moment. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of people who hide their true feelings. And once you understand what's really going on beneath the surface, you'll never look at human behavior the same way again. Picture this. Maggie is sitting across from her boss, nodding enthusiastically as he explains a new project deadline. A deadline that's completely unrealistic. Inside, her mind is screaming. Her stress levels are through the roof. She knows she can't deliver quality work in that time frame. But instead of speaking up, she smiles and says, "Absolutely, no problem at all." Sound familiar? We all know a Maggie. And if we're being honest, many of us are Maggie. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Hiding emotions isn't just about being shy, introverted, or low drama. It's a deep psychological survival strategy, often formed early in life, and reinforced for years without us even realizing it. And to understand it, we need to start where it usually begins. Imagine growing up in a home where sadness was dismissed, anger was punished, vulnerability was seen as weakness. Over time, children in these environments learn a powerful lesson. My emotions are inconvenient or unsafe, so they adapt. Psychologists call this emotional suppression, a coping mechanism that helps children survive emotionally challenging environments. But here's where it gets really interesting. The brain changes based on what we repeatedly do. This is called neuroplasticity. When someone constantly suppresses emotions, the brain strengthens the neural pathways that make emotional hiding feel automatic. It becomes second nature, not because they don't feel, but because they've trained themselves not to show it. It's like building a muscle, except this muscle is designed to lock emotions away, and this leads us to one of the biggest hidden drivers behind emotional concealment. Many people hide their true feelings because they're terrified of rejection, judgment, being seen as too much, being abandoned. They develop an internal story that says, if people really knew how I felt, they wouldn't accept me. So instead, they present a carefully edited version of themselves, like a perfectly curated social media profile, but for their entire personality. And for some people, it's not just fear, it's control. Some individuals believe that showing emotions equals weakness. They'd rather appear calm, composed, and unshakable, even if it's costing them everything internally, because vulnerability feels dangerous, control feels safer, but maintaining that illusion is exhausting, and eventually, something gives. This is where most discussions oversimplify things, but the reality is more nuanced. There are different types of people who hide emotions. People pleasers who don't want to burden others. Perfectionists who hide anything that contradicts their flawless image. Trauma survivors who learned emotional expression could be unsafe. Professionals conditioned to suppress emotions in work environments. Especially in the workplace, emotional suppression is often rewarded, while vulnerability is punished. So people compartmentalize. They create a professional self that looks nothing like who they really are. But here's the part no one warns them about. Suppressed emotions don't vanish. They build pressure, like a steam engine with no release valve. And when that pressure leaks out, it often shows up as chronic headaches, digestive issues, emotional numbness, sudden outbursts that seem completely out of proportion. To outsiders, it looks like it came out of nowhere. But internally, it's been building for years. Emotional hiding doesn't just hurt the individual. It quietly damages relationships, because intimacy requires vulnerability. When someone constantly wears a mask, partners, friends, and family feel shut out, even if they can't explain why. This creates a painful cycle. The emotion hider feels misunderstood, but also prevents anyone from truly understanding them. Now here's something that might surprise you. Not all emotional suppression is unhealthy. In certain situations, it's necessary. Emergency responders, surgeons, Crisis negotiators. They often need to temporarily suppress emotions to function effectively. The problem isn't emotional regulation. The problem is when temporary suppression becomes a permanent lifestyle. And this is where a powerful mental shift becomes essential. One of the biggest breakthroughs for people trapped in emotional suppression is realizing this. Thoughts and emotions aren't commands. They're information. This idea is explored deeply in a book I've personally found incredibly relevant to this topic. Don't Believe Everything You Think, Expanded Edition by Joseph Nguyen. The book explains how our relationship with our thoughts creates emotional suffering, and how changing that relationship allows emotions to move through us instead of getting trapped. If this video resonates with you, I've linked the book below. It's a powerful next step for anyone who spent years hiding how they truly feel. This isn't about expressing every emotion impulsively. It's about emotional intelligence. Start small. Notice when you automatically say, "I'm fine." Pay attention to physical sensations, tension, tightness, fatigue. Practice expressing minor preferences before big emotions. Think of it as a simple process: awareness, permission, expression. The people who seem the most put together are often fighting the biggest internal battles. Your emotions aren't inconvenient interruptions to your life. They're valuable signals about your needs, values, and experiences. Learning to listen to them, instead of hiding them, can quietly change everything. What's one emotion you find yourself hiding most often? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to explore this topic even deeper, check out the book linked below. It's helped a lot of people start this journey.